Welcome to rSlash Offmychest, where we have a candidate for the worst husband of 2025. Our next Reddit post is from Darkside Zephyr. As the birth of our second daughter is nearing, I get flashbacks to my firstborn's birth. I was induced due to cholestasis with Cervidil and then a Foley balloon for 3 days until my water broke. That sentence is gobbledygook to me, so I looked it up, and cholestasis is a condition where the flow of bile from the liver to the small intestines is impaired. Anyways, after a failed epidural and a second one in place, I was told a C-section would be best as the baby's head was getting coned. My cervix wouldn't dilate, and my baby would go into distress, especially since there was meconium in my water. Needless to say, incredibly traumatic. But what my mind goes back to is after 2 to 3 days of not eating, having back-to-back painful contractions, tolerating a painkiller shot every couple of hours, which hurt more than the epidural for me, and being in labor for so long, was my husband coercing me into giving him a BJ at the hospital all drugged up and while in extreme pain. Not only that, but he wasn't even thankful and acted like it was for me. He told me that it helped distract me from the pain and praised me for it. I thought that I had done right as a wife, but looking back, it seems not okay. It makes me feel icky and sad. I just feel sick about it, and I can't shake off this skin-crawling feeling that I have right now. Also, OP adds in an edit, I served him divorce papers last month, suing for full custody. He only gets supervised visits due to his alcoholism. And I'm going for exclusive possession of the home, and I'm getting a restraining order. In addition to this just being disturbing, it's also, I'm pretty sure, illegal if you were drugged up. I think we're moving into coercion and sexual assault territory. Also, down in the comments, we have this story from Extreme Kangaroo. On a retro gaming forum a few years ago, there was a discussion about work ethics. One guy piped in that he was so dedicated to his work that when his wife was in labor, giving birth to their first child, that he took his laptop with him and worked throughout the entire birthing. And I mean the entire thing. He was intensely proud of this. He was even more proud of the fact that he was back at work the next day. He was also shocked that not one person on the forum was in agreement with him. That was previously the worst thing I've ever heard a husband or partner do to their wife or partner at birthing. Your story is so many orders of magnitude worse that working through the birth of your first child is tame in comparison. What your husband did is horrific while you were under the influence, and he should be serving time for sexual assault. It feels like something out of a shock movie. This is honestly one of the worst things I've ever read. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. For context, I'm 28 and my girlfriend is 26. This all happened about the end of 23, so I would have been 26 and my girlfriend was 24. My girlfriend suffered with eating disorders for a long time. She would have months where she would eat well and then all of a sudden revert back to old patterns. She was starving herself around this time. Because of this, she ended up passing out, and due to some pretty incompetent paramedics, she ended up suffering a stroke and went into a coma, which she has since woken up from, but has locked-in syndrome and can only move her eyes. A couple of months after going into a coma, her brother came to me and told me that in the weeks leading up to it, a guy was regularly visiting her apartment and would sometimes sleep over. Obviously, this was crushing to hear. I couldn't confront her about it or anything. When I was alone with her, I used her thumb to open her phone and found texts confirming that she had been having intercourse with this guy, as well as a couple of other random hookups. I asked her brother a favor, to tell the family that we broke up prior to the coma, so I didn't seem like a complete butthole for leaving her like this. He agreed, and I haven't been back to visit her since. I pray for her recovery. No one deserves to suffer through something like that. Even just watching her like that is hard, but still, I can't go back and see her knowing what she did. What I want to know is, when OP used the girlfriend's phone to unlock the password, was she awake and aware of this? Was she watching him do this, knowing that her life was unraveling in front of her and there's nothing she could do about it? Because that scene sounds like something straight out of a movie. Also, you guys, if you ever open the news one day and it's like, YouTuber rSlash in car wreck and wakes up from coma in locked-in syndrome, I give you all permission to come to my hospital and pull the plug, because that sounds worse than death. Our next Reddit post is from Honeybell Mama. I'm a 31-year-old woman and my husband is 32. I'm at my wit's end with my husband's coworker, Sarah, who's 30, and his complete inability to see what's happening. I'm not usually one for Reddit, but I need to know if I'm going crazy here. Where do I even start? 3 years ago, my husband Mark started working with Sarah. At first, I tried to be welcoming. I invited her to our barbecues, included her in group outings, and genuinely tried to be friendly. Big mistake. She spent the entire time making backhanded comments about everything from my career. Oh, you're just a yoga instructor? How peaceful. To my cooking. I guess not everyone can master basic seasoning. The real problem is that my husband Mark thinks that she's just being funny. Last month, she literally threw away the anniversary mug that I gave him because it clashed with the office aesthetic. When I got upset, Mark said that I was being too sensitive and that Sarah just has high standards for office decor. It was a mug with our wedding photo on it. Here's some greatest hits from Sarah. She scheduled a mandatory work dinner on our anniversary. She convinced Mark to not take a promotion because it would mean working with a different team. She posts daily photos of them together with hashtags like work power couple and work spouse. She tells everyone at their office that I take better care of him than his wife does. She changed his coffee order and now tells everyone that she trained him right. The worst part, my husband is completely blind to all of this. Yesterday, he actually told me about how Sarah said that our new house, which we spent months searching for, was charming in a starter home kind of way. He repeated this while laughing. I tried talking to him about it, but Sarah has convinced him that I'm just insecure. She's managed to insert herself in every aspect of our lives. They text constantly, even on weekends. She knows his schedule better than I do. She rearranged his entire desk and office wardrobe because his style was too suburban husband. But that's what he is. Last week, I suggested marriage counseling. He looked genuinely confused. He, of course, went and talked to Sarah about it. I found out from another coworker that she's been telling people that Mark and I are going through a rough patch, and that she's just being a good friend by giving him someone to talk to. We weren't going through anything until she started this nonsense. The breaking point? I stopped by his office to surprise him with lunch. I know, but it was his birthday and Sarah was supposedly out sick. Guess who was there? Sarah. She miraculously recovered and bought him a cake that said, "To my work, hubby," with a photo of them from the office holiday party. She saw me and said, "Oh, Amy, you came too. How nice. Mark, you didn't tell me that your real wife was coming. I'm not crazy, right? This woman is trying to destroy my marriage while my husband stands there grinning like it's all some big joke. What do I do? Divorce sounds extreme, but I'm running out of options here." Also, OP adds 2 edits. I should have stated that the promotion wasn't one that would increase his salary, but instead his title. It would give him more leadership experience. It still blows my mind that he turned it down just so he could stay on the same team as her. Also, I should have told the mug story in its entirety. She accidentally broke the mug. I noticed it was gone when I was visiting him one day, and I asked him about it. He said that she accidentally knocked it over, and then later he repeated a joke she made about how it didn't fit the office aesthetic. I love this comment from Late Butterfly who says, "Yeah, your husband isn't oblivious, he's complicit. He knows what's happening and he likes the attention. He's happy to let his girlfriend disrespect his wife." Yep. The only reason why this is happening is because your husband is allowing it and probably even enjoys it. To be honest, most men don't get a lot of positive affection from other women, so I think he's just eating it up and allowing her to get away with murder because he likes the attention. Our next Reddit post is from Radagast to Green. In my freshman year college dorm, I was roomed with a girl, and she and I were like oil and water. I was white and had never been to the city. She was black and had never left the city. We hung out a few times, but we were really different people. She was an introvert and English major, and I was a rah-rah cis-boom-bah and bio major. After a while, we didn't even say a word to each other. We got accustomed to wearing headphones all the time. We weren't on each other's nerves, just treating the room like barracks for studying and sleeping. One morning, I wake up and I hear her laughing on the other side of the room and look up to see her say, "Do you remember last night?" She tells me that during the night I had gotten up, come down my dorm bed ladder, and walked over to her bed on the floor. I came up to her quietly, but she wasn't asleep yet, so she saw me but didn't know what I was doing. She just stayed still, like a rabbit, watching me approach her. My eyes still closed, I lowered over her and kissed her on the forehead and said, "Good night, Kevin," the name of my boyfriend, and then went back to bed. She concluded the story by smiling and telling me, "You're lucky I ain't as heavy-handed as I used to be. Christine, wherever you are, thanks for not whooping my butt, and thanks for not making me feel weird and awful about it. You were kind." Our next Reddit post is from Ghost Spider. Having worked in customer service for so many years, I have great leniency for when things go wrong, but last night just broke me. I ordered a cocktail, beans and dip as an appetizer, and a steak as my entree. After I got my cocktail, it was 40 minutes until anyone came to my table again. I saw my server serving the table adjacent to mine, and they got their food. However, he wouldn't even look in my direction for me to get his attention. Now, I wouldn't mind a wait, as I understand the kitchen gets backed up or whatever. But for 40 minutes, at least communicate something or ask if I want to order another drink for F's sake. When my food finally did arrive after 40 minutes, it was just my entree, no appetizer. I reminded them and they would bring it over, but at that point, I was already checked out. I ate what I could finish as I got kind of full, and then I waited for them to come by again as I wanted the check in a to-go box. However, at this point, I realized they simply wouldn't be coming back at all. So I said, F it, and straight up left. I was seriously so pissed off at this point. I never in my life thought that I would dine and dash, but they pissed me off so much last night. Down in the comments, we have a similar story from the Devil's Advocate. I did this at a Pizza Hut about 30 years ago. Me and my girlfriend at the time sat down and waited to be served. It took them ages. Finally, we ordered and waited, and it took a long time for the food to get to us, maybe 40 minutes. We finished our food, which took about an hour. Then we wanted to pay, and we couldn't get anyone's attention. After 30 minutes, yes, really, of putting our hands up and saying, "Excuse me," looking at staff and being completely ignored while people walked past us and served others, I decided to try something. I said to my girlfriend, "Let's walk up to the service counter and see if they notice us then." So we did. We got up, left our table, and walked up to the service counter, which was near the back of the store. And now came another wait. Again, we would try to talk to people who would walk past us, and they would completely ignore us to deliver food to other tables. And other servers who would walk past us and ignore us again on the way to the kitchen. By now, we had finished eating nearly an hour ago, and we were still trying to pay our bill and being ignored. Now, I was starting to get angry. I said, "All right, now let's pretend that we're sneaking out without paying the bill. Maybe that will get their attention." There was a long, fenced-off entryway leading back to the front entrance of the shop. So we started backing out towards the door while looking at the staff, still ignored. Finally, we got to the entrance door. My girlfriend looked at me and said, "What do we do now?" "Let's go," I said. So we opened the door and walked out, and not a sound was heard. We stood outside looking through the window for about 5 minutes. We had just gotten a free meal, but we hadn't wanted to. This had never happened before in my life, and it's never happened since. Sorry, Pizza Hut, but your staff sucked. Kinda trippy, actually. If I were getting ignored that much, I'd start to think, wait a second, am I a ghost? Our next Reddit post is from Ambitious Volume. 5 years ago, I paid my brother $20,000 to never speak to me again. 5 years ago, both of our parents were killed by carbon monoxide poisoning in the house that we grew up in. We didn't really have that much money, and when it all netted out, we each got around $20,000. We never really got along, and he's always had trouble hanging on to a job. He has multiple kids he doesn't see, and it's just a really awful situation all around. I didn't really need the money, and with our parents gone, I have no real reason to interact with him. So I gave him half of the estate and told him I'd rather we just part ways. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm happily living in another state and have no idea what he's up to and have no desire to find out. Every once in a while, I'll get a random text from someone claiming to be his wife or girlfriend, but I just block them and move on. OP, this is a cool story and all, but you know that you can cut someone out of your life for free, right? You could have just moved to another state and kept your $20,000. Right, here we go. The top comment from Green Plan. Wow, my sister and I don't talk to each other for free. That was rSlash Off My Chest, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit episodes every single day.